Epic Gaming Night is sponsored by Analog Gamer. Check out analoggamer.com for epic board gaming apparel.
Have you ever bought a board game when your spouse said no? Have you ever won a game on an insane dice roll? Have you ever killed a dragon using only chopsticks? Do you text your friends to distract them from your current moves? Can you finish off a pizza in between your second and third turn? Can you ride a panda across the plains of Dewey? Do you have what it takes to stop an evil wizard from destroying your village? Do you tell your friends to call you Dungeon Master? Can you muster the strength to play one more game after 2 a.m.? Can you be the chosen one all the way up to bedtime? Have you ever dared to say no and pick your best friend's favorite character anyway? Have you ever randomly shouted nonsense because you thought it would be funny, and it wasn't? Well, we haven't done most of those things either, but we are willing to try. Join us as we explore the world of board gaming and all the crazy things that come with it. Welcome to the Epic Gaming Night Podcast.
Welcome to the Epic Gaming Night Podcast, a podcast about tabletop games, but mostly board games. I'm your host, Roy Canday, and with me as always is Matt.
Hey.
And Rob.
Hey.
And tonight we have a special guest with us, Emerson.
I should say hey.
Yes!
Yes.
Are you going to quiz every single guest we have on with that?
Maybe.
That's awesome. Well, you passed, Emerson. So, Emerson,
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, okay. Let's see. I'm a software developer by day, and at night I put on a mask and a cape, and I go out and fight crime by designing board games.
That is awesome. That's the best answer we've ever gotten.
Yes.
I could just see a guy in a suit with meeples on a belt somewhere.
Yeah.
Throwing them around.
So if this is the cape and mask, what do you look like when you're in the programmer phase? I'm just totally confused.
The only difference is I just wear a tie.
I thought you were gonna say I'm some sort of cyborg and I just jack in and
that'd be
a
awesome.
hacker from Netrunner or something like that.
If I can actually just take a jack and just put it in my brain and just code that way, that would be so awesome. I could watch TV while I do work or something like that. That'd be
just
awesome.
cut out the middle-man entirely.
Yeah. Not that using your fingers to type on a keyboard is that much more strenuous. I guess it speaks volumes of my laziness.
Do you go by the nickname Neo?
I wish. I think that's such an awesome name. I think it's a cooler name than the name I was given.
No, I was just thinking because being all plugged in the Matrix, that was...
Yeah.
Got it.
Gotta make a
just ruin
Matrix
that?
board game.
Ooh.
I have a question about that later, but
Here we go.
Awesome. Well, our topic tonight is Nazca games. We're going to be talking to Emerson all about his history and how Nazca games got started and some of their games. But first, we're going to talk a little bit about what we've been playing.
So let me go ahead and get my little one out of the way because I believe Roy and Matt and I were all going to have the same big one. But I'm still new to Dungeons & Dragons, and we did a little get-together this past week. And it took me 5 tries to kill a wolf that was gnawing off my friend's leg. And I've got this huge axe, and I'm rolling these dice, and I'm trying to not cut off my friend's leg at the same time that I'm trying to cut this wolf in half. And my friend started at full health, and he ended up losing all of his armor and going down to 2 hit points left. And finally we did something to get the wolf off, and we killed the wolf. But I just felt really bad and really inadequate as a dwarf warrior who's supposed to be able to go around and chopping up people. And I cannot hit a wolf who's bigger than me, who's bigger than my character. I missed the bigger object. I literally missed the right side of a barn. It was that bad. So
I feel bad though,
Dungeons
because didn't I give you the dice to play that with?
I wasn't gonna say anything because they were a gift. I don't know if I'll pull those dice back out again.
Oh no!
I may give them one more shot. We'll see.
I have definitely had friends that have literally, in the middle of a D&D game, got up and just thrown a whole set of dice just in the trash can. They're just nope, not doing it with these anymore.
Speaking of which, can I have all of the D6s out of that X-Men game? just for reasons.
No, and you're not allowed to roll those. You're gonna get your own special bad dice from now on,
Neat.
Matt.
So anyway, that was that, and then we played da 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 da.
Does Emerson have a game that he can talk about first before we get into?
The big one.
So I had an absolutely amazing game of Den of Winter last week.
Yes.
So
Okay.
brought
You have
to,
to tell.
I brought it to game night. I introduced some new people to it. I don't think they'll game with me for a while
Oh no!
because I was the betrayer, and it's a very rare occasion because there's the odds of being the betrayer is like I believe it's 45% chance or around there to actually have the betrayer in the game, and then among the 5 people. I'll usually play with a full complement of 5 people, and then to be able to get that, it's 1/5 of that, so it's a 9% chance of getting the betrayer.
Wow.
But this was my second time being the betrayer, and I absolutely relish that because you're on the other side. You're actually hoping that everyone else fails. And now initially I was a little disappointed when I got it. I looked at what I needed. I needed to get 2 gas or 2 fuels, and I needed to have a non-colony location. Well, I needed 2 fuels, guns, and I needed a non-colony location completely barricaded and maintain all the barricades. I looked at that, I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to complete this before everyone else completes the main objective. But sure enough, there was a series of unlikely events that happened to just fall in my favor, and it was a series of decisions from other players and a series of crossword cards that gave me just enough time, and actually everything sort of fell together. One of the item decks at that location actually got depleted, which allowed me, then everyone scattered from that and allowed me to actually build those barricades, because that was the hardest part of it.
I bet.
Was building a section where all 4 barricades would remain intact, and the only way to do that is if everyone scattered from a location and there were no zombies there.
Yeah.
How did you keep them from exiling you when you're like, I'm over here building barricades? There's no reason. I'm just building barricades. Like, did they accuse you of anything, or what did you tell them?
The stars aligned because other people had their secret objectives, made them seem extremely selfish, and I tried to manipulate everyone to actually point fingers at everyone else. By the time that people caught on that, the group did exile someone. I got everyone to exile somebody else.
Holy smokes!
And at that point, there was one person who deduced who it could be, and it was between the 2 people. It was either myself and another person, but he was so convinced that I was good because I kept on helping him with.
You're like, guys, I'm building barricades. Barricades are good. We gotta stop these zombies.
I was trying to explain why I was building those barricades and trying to justify that. But the other person, because he was hoarding certain things because of his secret objective, one of my friends, he was so convinced it was the other guy that he then cast the vote, and they got him exiled. And then after he was exiled, he revealed his secret objective card, and as soon as he flipped it over and it was not the betrayer, he looked at me and said, I'm not sure if I can say this online, but there were some superlatives that were thrown in my direction after that. So it was absolutely an amazing game. I barely won by the skin of my teeth, but everything all the stars just aligned in that moment. And I had everyone at the table absolutely hating me, and I enjoyed every minute of it.
Can I say next time we play that game, if anybody builds more than 1 barricade at a location, you're automatically getting exiled.
Exactly.
Like if you're starting your 2nd barricade at a location for no reason, you're done.
Yeah.
Well, aren't there some other loyal quests that make you build barricades and stuff like that too?
There are. I'm not sure if there's any that make you build all 4 in one location.
Yeah, I don't think there's one that makes you. Now I know you have to do some in the colony.
Yeah.
But not at a location per se. Or maybe each location has to have 1 barricade.
I just feel like that wouldn't fly with my group. They're like, why are you wasting time over there where there's no more items?
Nobody's over there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
you're the traitor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They'd be like,
Play with. is like 300% paranoid. They are consistently like, "Hey man, I saw that you took a little bit long breathing there. What's that about?" And it's like, "Okay, guys, hold up."
Throw him out the airlock. Oh wait,
I love that game. We're gonna get Sparky to shoot you up.
Exactly.
Oh, such a great game.
Yeah, it is.
Awesome. So the game that we played on Friday on stream was Rex, The Final Days of an Empire, which is the Fantasy Flight reprint of an older board game called Dune, but it is reprinted and set in the Twilight Imperium universe, seeing that they couldn't get the rights to the Dune game. Basically, the way this game works is everybody plays a different alien race. The Federation of Sol has come in and tried to overthrow the Galactic Empire that's controlled by the Letnev, and all these different alien races are vying for control of the capital city of Mechatol, or Rex is what it's actually called. The whole planet is Mechatol, but everybody is trying to get control of different strongholds on the board. Depending on how many people are in your alliance, it depends on how many strongholds you need. So if you're just by yourself, you only need three strongholds to win. And then 2 people, it's 4 strongholds, and then 3 people, it's all the strongholds on the board. So you have to control the whole thing. But the game's pretty interesting because the way it does alliances is there has to be an event card that comes up during the influence phase that allows you to make alliances. And once you make those alliances, you're not allowed to break them until another one of those cards comes up. So the card comes up and you can decide who you're going to ally with, what you're going to do, and then if the card comes back up, at that point, you could get rid of the dead weight guy who doesn't have any strongholds, or he's not helping out the team because most of his guys are dead, or his character power is not as useful as the other guys. Whatever you want to do. But also during that phase, you can like exchange influence. Influence is the currency of this game, so influence will appear on the board, and certain people get influence for other players taking specific actions. But influence allows you to buy. You can bid on getting different strategic cards, which can be weapons and special abilities, or you can use it to put troops down on the planet, or you can use it to buy back your troops once they're dead. But basically, the goal of the game is to get those strongholds, and the combat for this game is very interesting because it's almost like bidding combat, because you have a certain number of units in a space, and you basically bid how many of those units are being effective in that battle. And whoever has the highest number of units and with like their leaders actually wins the combat. But you lose all of the people that you bid, so it's kind of like you risk a whole lot of people to make sure you win the battle, but then at the end of the battle, all those guys are going to go to the dead pile. So the combat's very interesting because there's a lot of ways to actually like know for a fact you can actually win if your forces are big enough. You can engineer it so you know that it's going to happen. I really enjoy the game. I think the game's a blast. I think it's like super underrated. It's very asymmetrical. Every single race is different. It really plays best with like the full complement of 6 players, but the game is quite long as well, especially when you have to teach it for the first time and everybody's new. But yeah, that is Rex. What did you guys think of the game?
I liked it. Rob doesn't care. He won, so he's gonna thoroughly enjoy it. I think the one thing that I really took away from it was like I really liked how each race like did feel very different. Like what you were saying, it was very asymmetrical, and they felt different, but they all felt balanced. Like there wasn't one that was like, and that one's OP and crazy.
I think a lot of it too is that the other players, like there is a little bit of like that guy might be a little bit better, but the other players have to kind of like self-balance. Race gets to actually see how far they're moving, but if you don't move your troops out of the way, they'll still bomb their own people. So it's really awesome.
I just want to say 2 things before we move on. 2 things real quick. One, the only reason I won was complete and sheer luck. There is no way I should have won the game, but I had an Emerson moment where everything, the stars aligned, everything lined up in place perfectly. The bombardment happened perfectly. I got the card exactly that it, like I couldn't duplicate it. And then second, I want to say shout out to AJ because I know this is his new favorite game. I know AJ really just loved this game, and I just want to say, AJ, if you're watching, I'll play with you anytime you want to, buddy.
To be fair, me and him have very similar complaints about how alliances work, and that they're super limited, and they don't act in any way, shape, or form like an alliance would in real life. It's more just like, we agree to win together. Yeah.
That's pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. And it's just like, oh, okay.
I think me and Hector helped you out so much during the game. Like, we made sure you got money, and like we made sure and engineered. I mean, your race was really powerful just because you could get people back on the board. Rob's race, the Federation of Soul, can only put their people on the board on one side of the board, but they don't have to pay to put them down. So he gets tons of people like all at one time really quick. But a bunch of his people had died, so me and Hector were fueling his army by just making sure he got the money and had the money he needed. We played with a special variant with these betrayal cards. So at the very end of the game, if you're in alliance you meet the conditions, you can either A, just all shake hands and you win the game as an alliance and you're all good, so all three of us could have won. Or B, if you meet the conditions on your betrayal card, you can flip it over. And there's different numbers on these betrayal cards that whoever has the highest number, that one wins like the most out of all of them. So I had a 6, which I guess if we technically did it the right way, I would have been able to betray, but I probably wouldn't have, because I would have been like, let's do it fair and square. But Rob had the Master of Deceit card, where his was an 8, and if he won the game, if our side had won the game and he had like no strongholds whatsoever, he got to win the whole thing by himself. And 8 is the highest number, so Rob snatched victory out from under us.
And the only reason why I did that is, and AJ held me to it, is at the very beginning of the game, Emerson. See, I keep my word. The very beginning of the game, I said, I am not going to shake anybody's hand. Now, I was just joking, but, you know, I said it kind of like, I ain't shaking nobody's hand, man. I'm going to win all this. And so when the game ended, AJ was like, are you shaking anybody's hand? You said you weren't shaking anybody's hand? Are you going to shake their hand? Don't shake their hand. And so I was like, all right. And I pulled out my card. And, I mean, either way, I won. I either won with people or I won by myself. But
well played.
You could have just won as a team, man. You could have just won as a team.
I did that for AJ.
Have you played either Rex or Dune, Emerson?
No, I have not played either one. Dune is one of those Grail games that I would love to be able to find a copy of one of those. I think the closest is probably Cosmic Encounter, which is from the same designers as Dune. Mm-hmm. So I've played that, but I have not had a chance to play Rex yet.
Yeah, it definitely has some like a little bit of similar elements with like very interesting combat that's pretty like deterministic sort of, and then
it's
like
a negotiation.
Negotiation and shifting alliances. Like there was so many times where we're all just yelling at each other because it's like, no, we need to do this, no, do that, and oh my gosh, you can't do that, and all this stuff. It's a blast. But that is awesome. Rex, the final days of an empire.
Yeah,
I gotta check that out.
It is a lot of fun. Hey Matt, did you ever get over that little the little thing I said to you about the guy's name? You know what I'm talking about when you were like, I'm going to betray you. Because you thought you had my captain, and I was like, does the name match up?
Yeah, no. Man, that was the most subtly brilliant thing I think I've ever seen at our game nights. It was ridiculous.
You basically played him to figure out if he actually had it or not, Rob?
So there's a mechanic where everybody has like a particular trader card for each individual like general or something. So when you battle, if you have that trader card, you just auto win.
You
don't
automatically
lose any forces.
Win.
And
it's so ridiculous.
Yeah, and everything else in the enemy side is just gone.
It's definitely one of my favorite mechanics for the whole game.
I was the race that got 4 trader cards and got to keep all 4 because everybody else only had 1. So I was like, okay, cool. Oh. And so we were joking around. Me and Rob were about to go to war, and he was like, I'm pretty sure you don't have my 7. And I was like, but what if I do? And he was like, well, what's his name? Because each of the generals have their own specific names, and I just went,
right.
You got me. I have no idea. And so he just like 100% was just like, yep. And now I know you don't have the 7, and I'm just gonna walk off over here and just destroy you. And it's like, oh man.
You should have just not answered any of his questions and not played
Well,
into
it's
his
like-
games.
Well,
It was one of those
he got
things-
so confident. Matt got really confident because he was 3 times in our alliance. They pulled out our people and killed us, and so Matt was very confident. Like, oh, because he had one of my guys. I got you, buddy. Like, you're dead. And I was like, really? What's his name, Matt? What's his name? And it just, yeah. Anyway, we can get on topic. We have a lot of fun. I apologize.
So Matt, I'm guessing you were the Harkonnens.
Yes. They're the barony of Letnav in this game, but they are the
Oh, that's right.
they are the Harkonnens in the Dune game. It's
Right,
kind of
right.
cool to like having played both games to be like, oh, this is this race and this is that race.
Right.
But one of my favorite games of all time is Twilight Imperium, so I try to like move past that and just enjoy it for what it is now, because the I guess the Herbert estate or the people that don't own the Dune license wouldn't let Fantasy Flight reprint it that way, and they really wanted to, but they still wanted the game to get reprinted and be out there and be in distribution, so they remade it with the Twilight Imperium theme, which is, I think, very awesome. But but we all miss the spice, so
Yeah, the spice must flow.
exactly. So
Good
our
time.
topic tonight is Nazca games. So we're going to be talking to Emerson about a bunch of different things. So our first question is, how did Nazca games start?
Let's see. I went to some lawyers and drafted up some contracts to actually incorporate, and that's how it started. But that's probably the boring answer. I think the more exciting answer is that I've always wanted to, have my own game company. In the area that I'm working in is software development. I feel like I've kind of plateaued in terms of my career, and so I was just looking for something more of a change. And something I wanted to get into something that I was really passionate about. Now, that's not to say that I love software development as well, but my real passion is in games. So I love games even more. So I wanted to do something in that direction. Now, I've always been a fan of tabletop games. I think the one game I've played the most throughout my life has been Dungeons and Dragons. I played a lot of that.
Nice.
So I had we back in college we would religiously come every weekend to play Dungeons and Dragons.
Yep.
I was the dungeon master. We had these long epic campaigns and had such a great time with it. So there's always been a soft spot for me with tabletop games. The face to face. Being able to game with your buddies face to face on a table with your pencils, dice, and what have you. So that's always been something that's been super appealing to me. I'm also a big fan of video games too. I think I'm very eclectic. I like all different kinds of games. So I decided I wanted to start my own company. Did lots of searches on the internet to see what are some cool names, and I guess I settled on Nazca Games. And Nazca, it was inspired by the Nazca lines in Peru. So those ones that have they have like these different illustrations on the ground. It's really interesting in that when you're standing next to them, you can't really see the full picture, but from very high up vantage point, then you can actually see what those pictures are. So it's one of the things that you can actually see from space. So and it's endured for quite a long time. So I was kind of inspired by that. So I decided to name my company after that.
Is that part of how you get the swirl too for your little logo?
Yeah, so there's actually a series of swirls, and so I thought, hey, that's great. There's also a little bit of an Easter egg. So the very center of the logo actually starts with a G. So once you write the G, the top end of it starts to swirl around on itself. So and the G stands for the games. So
Nice.
so that's actually the
That is really cool.
that's
that
the
is
impetus
really
for the logo.
awesome. So you talked about this a little bit, but what made you want to get into board game design? Just because you loved games?
Yeah, I definitely wanted to start a game company. I actually didn't go into it with the intention of being a game designer.
Oh, nice.
So I knew that if I wanted to start a game company, in order to attract designers to come, to Nazca Games with their awesome designs, I wanted to show that, hey, I'm a company capable of producing stuff. So I thought, okay, well, I better come up with some of my own games first, and then also to just understand the ropes. So I made a small little card game and went through the whole process of manufacturing it, finding distribution for it, and meeting with retailers and trying to get it out to retail shelves. So I went through that process with that game, so I became familiar with it. Then the second game was a little bit more ambitious. It was actually a full board game called Vault Robot Battle Arena.
Yes.
And that was, one that at the time I was really proud of. And so I went through the process of doing the artwork, working with the manufacturers, getting quotes, getting it out through distribution. And then for my third game, I was really, I guess I enjoyed this process of designing games. So I thought, and I had this great idea for a game. So that's where the initial name for SpectreOps is actually called CypherOps. And so I had this great idea for CypherOps, play tested it, started doing the design, even did like the artwork for it too. So the original artwork for it is actually different than what you see on SpectreOps. And it was close to being published before I met with Colby from Plaid Hat Games. So that's how I got started in terms of designing.
That's awesome.
Can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
Sure.
It's kind of one of our questions, but how did that whole meeting with Colby take place? Like, did you reach out to them? Did they reach out to you? Did you guys meet mutually at a game fair or something? But how'd you get teamed up together with Plaid Hat?
Oh, okay. The first time I met Colby was at the Gamma Trade Show. This was back last year, March of last year, and we went out for dinner and had a good time. And I got to demo Vault to him. So, and we had a good time. I had a good time demoing my game to him. And then we kept in touch. One of the things that he was at that time interested in was a couple of different licenses. And my wife happened to work or used to work for 4Kids Entertainment, and she used to be in charge of licensing and royalties and things like that. So there was a mutual interest there. So I thought maybe I can hook Colby up if he was interested in certain properties that my wife was managing. Then maybe I can help him out in that regards. And then next we met up at PAX East, and there I had my prototype of CypherOps there. And Colby, we were actually just over a wall there between our booths. So, and then he stopped by and he took a look at what I had, my CypherOps demo, and he just said, "Hey, why don't you show me your new prototype?" So he sat down, we played it. He was the agent, and I was the one hunting him down. And then afterwards, he came by and says, "Hey, how would you feel about working partnering up and producing it?" And he was giving me some numbers, and he says, "Hey, we can do this. We'll try to do this. We'll give you a cut of this, and so forth." And he had a lot of the details already. I guess in his mind, he already had all these details. And he told me, why don't you think about it, get back to him in a week or so. And I told him, stop right there. I think we're going to just say yes right now. Because it was such a great offer. Not only did it give me the chance to work with a company that I was very fond of. I really looked up to Plaid Hat. And not only did it give me the chance to work with them, but the offer was also very generous too, because he knows that I was at a point where if he didn't pick up the license to publish SpectreOps, then I was actually going to go to print with it within a week or two. So it was like right at the point where all I needed to do was sign off on the proofs, and then they would have started manufacturing CypherOps, which is a previous incarnation of it. So, but what you see in
really
SpectreOps
cool.
is they did a fantastic job. The artwork is improved. Instead of the wooden tokens in the original, it's awesome looking miniatures from Chad Hoveder, who's their sculptor. So, and then the board is just phenomenal. My board was much smaller. Oh, there's my favorite character.
Nice.
Sorry.
So yeah, so that's how the partnership came about.
Okay.
That's awesome. It's
Okay.
cool because Plaid Hat started as like a really small company, and now like they
They're not-
they grew
yeah.
bigger, and they're like huge now, and like they helped you out as you were like you had a couple games under your belt, and you were working
Yeah.
on a third, and they helped you out. That's one of the great things about I think the board gaming community as a whole is that there's a lot of helping each other out and hooking each other up and like
Oh, yeah.
networking with everybody together. It seems like just a really awesome community as a whole.
Yeah, yeah, it was something that was really, yeah, it's something I had to get used to working in other different industries, like in, software development or insurance or architecture. In other industries, your competitors are your competitors. You see them
Right.
as your enemies. You're competing with them. So there isn't that much camaraderie between companies that are vying for the same market space. But with board games, it's similar. I mean, like all of these companies are competing against each other in the same market, in the same industry, but yet everyone is just so open and so willing to help each other out. And it definitely shows that this is an industry of passion. Like people are
Yes.
passionate about it. I had dinner at the Gamma Trade Show. I had dinner with Brad Telton from Level 99 Games and Colby. And it was interesting because they're interested in each other's products. I mean, but if I had to pick two companies that competed head to head, like I see Summoner Wars and BattleCon, just like
Yeah.
going literally like head to head, because they're in that same market space, but yet they're excited for each other's products, right? So Colby's excited to see what's coming out of Level 99, and Brad's excited to see what's coming out of Plaid Hat. And so forth. So it's a very different industry. Like it feels so different from everything else that I've been involved with.
And I feel like a lot of those partnerships and those helping each other out and being excited and bringing everybody up together is just helping board gamers when they go to buy the product, because if everybody's making sure that other people make better games, then it just helps everybody, even the consumer. So
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean, I definitely understand that everyone is helpful and nice to each other, but you can tell in the quality of game, people are very confident in their product. And so, sure, I'll help so and so, but there are definitely certain companies that when they put a game out, the quality is going to be amazing, and that's one of the things that we have with Spectre Ops. It's just the partnership between you and Plaid Hat. I mean, the quality, the board, the detail, the everything, the rules. It's such an amazing and beautiful game. It's like, not to say that Colby would ever do this, but I would be totally okay with whatever anybody else put out, because I know my stuff is legit. Like, sure, you could put out your game. That's fine. Good for you. Have you seen my game, Spectre Ops? Have you seen what Emerson's doing? This is absolutely amazing. So, yeah, it does push people. I agree with Roy. It does push people to strive for more. Like, you can't put out a mediocre game anymore.
Yeah.
You really can't. There's too many good games out nowadays. And you can't put out good games anymore. A lot of the games that I'm buying aren't good games anymore. They're great games. And
Right, yeah.
the issue is there's a lot of great games now. I mean, we're really
yeah.
in the golden age of board gaming. And so it's exciting as a consumer because the money's well spent.
I think it's torturous as a consumer because there's all of these great games, and you look at your wallet and think, gosh, I can't afford them. I have to choose.
Credit cards? What?
Rob has no filter. Rob's just like, swipe.
Well,
Like,
up
I
until
finally begged my wife. I was like, look, Rhino Hero. I need to get Rhino Hero. So
Yeah.
I did order it this weekend. It should be here. It should be here this week. But yeah,
We've been talking on the last couple podcasts, or our podcast, that Rob's been on a game ban. He's not been allowed to buy games. So
well, this year alone, I've bought 50 plus games this year alone in 2015. And so my wife is like, no, that's several car payments. That's a couple of mortgage payments. Like, no. And so I understand.
yeah, normally I have to like get new games in and stuff. I have to trade a lot of mine off or swap them up and different things like that. Get rid of the ones that I'm not playing and stuff like that. So or
Well,
wait
see, now
till
it's
my
great
birthday
because
or
I can
Christmas.
say it's research for the podcast.
Exactly.
Emerson's got this great new game coming out, babe. I don't want to buy it. I have to buy it. It's research. So,
Oh man.
can I ask you a question that's not on the list? And it's it's kind of personal, but it's not personal.
Absolutely.
But here's how it is. You did say that you currently do have a day job, and at night you put on your amazing cape and things like that.
Yeah. Metaphorically.
Metaphorically, I understand that.
Yeah.
If you could go full time with just board game design and development, is that something that you would want to do? And to attach or to carry on to that question, part two is, would you want to do that strictly as Nazca Games if you were able to go full time, or would you like to join an existing firm?
That's a really good question. If I could do it, and I can actually make the numbers work, absolutely. I think, because I think a lot of people would love to just be in a position where you just design games if you're really passionate about it. But I do want to make it clear that when you design a game, it is a lot of work, because when you go through playtesting, iteration, collecting feedback, making changes, it's not so different than, say, software development, where you put out a product, it breaks, you got to go back, fix it, put it out again, test it, breaks, and so forth. So it's always an iterative process. If I were to do it under Nazca Games, I think that would be my preference, is to have it as my company. But I think it might make, if I were to go full-time design, it seems like, and that's all I want to do is design, not have to worry about manufacturing, logistics, distribution, and things like that, then probably the best course of action would be to go with another company that will handle all the other details.
Yeah.
And just focus on the design. So,
well, cool.
So
I mean, no, you definitely did answer the question. It's just, I understand from like an artistic point of view, for sometimes like it's so consuming, and it takes a lot. I mean, it takes a lot of your time. It takes a lot of your mental capability, and also it costs a lot of money. And so, I mean, Spectre Ops or Cypher Ops didn't just happen. Like, that was a lot on you, and so I just didn't know if this was something that right now you're just really excited as a glorified hobby, or is this something that you're seeing as like a career, like, if it could develop into the way that I want to see it develop, Nazca Games could be full-time. Because so far, I mean, you're batting 1,000 on your different games, on all your different games, and so it's just like, for me as a consumer, I would love to get more. I mean, I would love to see more, and I know we're going to talk later about it, but with your software development, you're working on apps and different things like that for games, and so, I want all of you, and so it's just wanting to know, like, what can we do to keep the cape on 24/7? So, I mean, you did a good job answering my question.
I'm sure just buy all the copy of Spectre Ops, all the copies of Vault, and all the copies of Tricks and Treats, like all the games. And then he'll be good if you just buy every single stock that he has. Every day of every week.
Right?
Oh, remind me to ask you guys to give me your emails, because I'm going to send you a little preview of the Crossword app.
Nice.
Don't even. Like, okay. I mean,
cool.
I'm going to calm down. I'm going to calm down. I think that's a very good idea. Thank you very much.
Thanks for being professional, Rob.
Like, if I fall over, I had a heart attack. Roy, Matt, call 911. Like, that is. Anyway, thank you very much, Emerson.
So what's some of the biggest challenges in like publishing and self-publishing games?
Oh, wow. Mostly capital.
Yeah.
But that's where the day job comes in, is that usually the day job will end up subsidizing your, like you said, it's a glorified hobby at the moment. So, but it's something that a lot of people that get into this, either starting like a company through Kickstarter, or doing what I did, which is like putting your own money into starting a company. Our dream is that that company will grow to the point, it's kind of like your child. It'll grow to the point where hopefully it'll grow up enough so that it'll take care of you.
Yeah.
So that's always a dream. It doesn't always happen though. But that is something that I'm actively working towards, and it would be great. I like that I'm with app development. I'm kind of combining my two worlds together, so I can do my software development, but I'm also involved in the board game, or in gaming in general, in that industry. So I can take the sort of best of both worlds there.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Awesome. So, is there anything else you want to tell us about some of your other designs or Spectre Ops and all the rest of them?
Oh, okay. I'm trying to think what I'm allowed to say, but I do have 3 designs that are going to be coming out through Plaid Hat Games.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
Did we see one of them on Twitter where you were like Jerry, the mouse guy, was laughing or doing something hysterically, like a hidden rolls game?
Yes.
They did talk about that on one of their podcasts.
They did
Yeah.
talk about that. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So actually, I can probably say more than I think I can because they have mentioned it on their podcast. So I do have.
Oh, you can talk all you want about it. You can say everything.
Oh, okay.
No filter.
I'm sure Rob is your PR guy. I'm sure.
Yes.
Well, I know that whatever I say on this Twitch channel is going to be heard by the world.
Exactly.
So I gotta
like,
be careful.
our
I
audience
gotta
is
be careful
so
what I say.
huge. So
They
unless
get
you
it,
want
guys.
billions,
Matt, Roy, I was telling you, we're so famous.
So I got a hit and roll little party game. Gosh, what's the best way to describe it? It is also set in the Spectre Ops universe.
oh man.
So,
awesome.
so it's one of those really quick hit and roll games. You pass out your rolls, you argue for 3 minutes, and then you shoot each other. It's one of those type of games.
Yeah.
We need to play that so bad. That is exactly our game group.
Yeah.
The fact that you just said shoot each other, we'll buy it. Like, done. I will order multiple copies of that. That will get played. Yes.
Well, the next convention where we're all going to be at, I'll bring my prototype of it and we can play it, definitely.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I also have a light Euro game that's going to be coming out from Plaid Hat. And this is something that's not generally in their wheelhouse.
Right.
But it
Yeah.
was actually a surprise to me that they were actually interested in this game. And when I showed it to Colby, well, after doing Spectre Ops, Colby says, "Hey, whatever designs that you have, he's definitely interested in seeing them, regardless of whether it fits in Plaid Hat's line or not." So, and I told him, "Hey, I got a Euro. You're not going to like this. You're going to hate this because it's a light Euro. It is." Now, when I describe it, it's almost like I'm trying not to sell it. But when I describe this game, I tell people it's the definition of a cube pusher. You're just pushing cubes around. You're just trading cubes. You're just pushing cubes. There's nothing innovative about this game at all. It's been done before, but for some reason, like Colby was really interested in it and says, "Hey, we want to publish this." And at that time I was really baffled. Like, why? It doesn't. It's a Euro game. But yeah, he said that he sees the potential of, like, Colby's a genius when it comes to like looking at something and seeing the marketability of
He's
something.
got great vision. He really does.
Yeah, exactly. He's got great vision. So I mean, I have a lot of faith that if he says something will sell, I trust him. I trust him on that. And then the last one was another hit and roll game, but it's not a micro game. It's a little bit more of an involved game, and that's the one that I think you probably saw some of the Twitter pictures and little Vine videos of. So, and that one is so you guys know Battlestar Galactica. I think I've seen it on your shelves at one point.
Yes, we're big fans.
And then there was a game called BSG Express.
Yes.
So people have called this one BSG Micro. So imagine if you can condense the Battlestar Galactica experience into about 30 to 45 minutes.
What?
So
How do you do that? I mean,
it's
okay.
Basically, I've just distilled some of the elements down to its core, and then it's just that. So it's actually a small box game. So
do we come out just start yelling at everybody like, "You're the Cylon, forget you, you're totally gonna screw us, like you're done, like right out of the box"?
Yeah, right out of the box.
I love that. Okay.
Before you even like read the manual, you guys are gonna be accusing each other.
You touch the
Now,
box and you immediately just start yelling at people.
I kid.
What did you do that
would be-
for? I love it.
That would be the grail for me, is if I can get people to, like, if I can induce conflict in people before they even read the rule book. Although I have a feeling that if I achieve that, it's usually some kind of prejudice that's already there before the game even started. But But yeah, so those are 3 games, and I'll also let you guys in on a little bit of a secret as well. Is that Plaid Hat has actually asked me to design a game as well. So I'm actually working on a game. So this is one of the first times that they've actually commissioned me to design a game. So they said, here's the theme, here's what it should do. Can you make a game like this? So I'm actually now designing. I'm actually designing within a constraint now, which is really,
Do you like that? Does that kind of take the edge off a little bit?
Or does it make it harder?
Yeah. Yeah. Or does it make it harder?
It's both. It makes it easier in that, like, my design space has already been defined for me. So I know I need to design within these parameters. And with my hands, I'm drawing this box, which isn't appearing on the camera. So let me do this.
Yeah.
So it's appearing. So they said design within this constraint, but within it, now I have to think about, okay, what's the best game that I can make within that? And that's the challenge, right? Is how good can you make it with some constraints, right? It's not necessarily like your hands are tied behind your back, but you're basically given a block. Like, imagine like a block of wood, and said, okay, well, it has to be within this confines, and here is a scalpel and a screwdriver. Now make something. So that's sort of the feeling that I have. Now I feel like I can make something with it, but it's interesting. I really enjoy this challenge, though, and I've had a lot of sleepless nights thinking about this particular concept.
Do you bring a lot of like your programming like expertise or like your history from like programming into your board game design?
Probably on a subconscious level, because I do see a lot. I'm going through a lot of the same mental exercises as I do when I'm programming. So when I'm programming, I'm writing lines of code. So I'm kind of putting the entire program into my head, trying to figure out, okay, how do I get these things to work, and then dumping it down. And I feel like I'm doing the same thing with board game design, where I put everything in my head, and then I kind of churn it through my head, and then dump it out in the form of like a paper prototype.
Right. And then lots of troubleshooting and trial and error sort of stuff.
Right, exactly. Yep. You run the program, or you play test the prototype, you watch it crash and burn, and you go back and debug it. So yeah, exactly.
Now, I don't know if I'm allowed to ask you this, and I don't know if you're allowed to answer, but I'm going to ask anyway. So when Roy and I were waiting in line for the Dice Tower live show that was happening at Gen Con, and I got my picture with you, which thank you very much, by the way. That really meant a lot to me. And I try to get my picture with everybody because I'm a fan. I appreciate what you guys do. You guys are like my movie stars in a way. So anyway, I see Eric Summer, and I didn't see him last year, and so I didn't get a picture. So I was like, I'm going to go get a picture with Eric Summer. Well, as I was walking up to Eric Summer, I might have accidentally heard about an expansion for Spectre Ops. And I don't know if you're allowed to comment on that. You can make a grunting noise or whatever you like, but I just wanted to know, is that true, and when, if it is true?
Or you can plead the fifth. I'm leaving you
please
out.
don't violate any NDAs or anything like that.
No.
Hold on, if you don't say anything, I'll take that as a yes.
Well, actually, first I'll give you the answer to the Spectre Ops expansion. Yes.
Yes. Okay.
So I have been working on that, and I've been working on it since Origins. So I actually had a meeting with Plaid Hat, and I had a design document for what I envisioned would be in the Spectre Ops expansion. And Colby went through the whole document, and then he basically gave me the green light. He just gave me the stamp of approval, and he says, "Go start, testing out these ideas and concepts, and proving them out." So I think it is an eventuality.
Okay.
So in terms of timeframes, unfortunately, I don't have the timeframes for you. Now, what I was talking to Eric Summer about is actually a little bit different. Because I was talking to him about his expertise, because he's a professional voice actor,
Yes,
and he's done a little bit of work for us. And I was asking him if I can also commission work from him, and if he knows some other voice actors to help me out with this project called the Spectre Ops companion app.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping it was going to be.
What?
So yeah,
Are you allowed to talk about that app at all, or
Yeah, I can
it's
talk
still
a
in
little bit about
development?
it. It's still in
Okay.
development, though. It's still in development. I should be working on it now, but I have been so consumed by this new project that Plaid has put on my lap. That
Oh, not the
it's-
podcast, not tonight's podcast. You've been.
Oh, that too. Yes.
Calm down, Rob.
I've been preparing for this for weeks. Time is relative, I must say. So that's something else that we're working on is a companion app for Spectre Ops, and it's just going to take the place of the movement sheet. So now, instead of using that piece of paper and a pencil, the agent will be able to use a tablet, and then they'll be able to mark their locations. At
That
the
is
same
such
time,
an awesome idea. Okay.
when it's the hunter's turn, the agent will still track where they move, because then the app will help you to know where their lines of sight are. So it's sort of just as a helper. It can help enforce rules and hopefully minimize some human error when it comes to playing the game.
That is such an awesome idea.
That's
That
awesome.
is amazing.
I think
Okay.
I remember them saying a little bit about that on the Plaid Hat podcast. Is it going to have like a playback feature sort of thing, or
Yes, that I can say.
which is
Yes.
awesome?
So
I'm about to say
after
I
you
heard
go-
it already on the internet, so
Did they just? Was that in their newest podcast?
I feel like
came
that
out?
was forever ago. Like when they were
don't
talking about
remember.
Spectre Ops, like for a long time ago. But yeah, they were
I don't-
talking about being able to see where everybody moves and find out different things about. Oh, you were here when you were there, and it lets you
Yeah.
like recount the game with everybody.
I mean,
after you play it.
I love the little mini map on the paper now. It's good. It works as a design, but I love the idea more of using a tablet or a smart device. And I think, if anything, it will kind of help with waste. And not that you waste those sheets of paper, but I'm not going to hold on a log of every single game I've ever played of Spectre Ops, so I'm not constantly throwing stuff away. Like, I can now have it on my app. So I think that's a fantastic idea. And don't be mad at Eric. I was just in the right place at the right time.
I would say the real question is when the line of sight happens, are you going to have like a little sound, like a play? Like,
I would love to have. You know what I would really love to have? I'm going to get in so much trouble if I do put it in there. It's that little exclamation point that pops up over the
Yeah.
hunter's head.
Yes,
I really
Metal
want to
Gear.
have that. I'll probably get a cease and desist letter from Konami if I do, though. So
Be
I just
totally
want
worth
the
it
wolf
for
to
that
say, "I got
couple
you,
weeks.
sucker." I love the Beast. He's my favorite. The Beast is absolutely my favorite hunter. He is just so ridiculous.
awesome. He's one of my favorites too.
I am really excited. I love companion apps in games because I feel like they do a whole lot of work to simplify and to declutterize games that might be just huge and overarching. And you can take a piece of technology and just write a code for it that simplifies everything and makes it a lot easier to enjoy right out of the box.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
there's like a huge not a huge, but there are a loud minority of people that are super like anti like adding apps to games or electronicizing like all these different board games, because they're like, well, what happens with all these different situations? And I think personally that it's super awesome, all the different integrations that they can do, because I mean a few years ago no one like had like you'd have to have a computer with you, but now like every single person has a smartphone or a tablet like right there at their house or right there with them, and I'm sure that's just going to become even more common. So
Right. I think now it's because like smartphones have become so ubiquitous. That's why it's now a viable option to include apps and things like that to enhance the experience. Now, I do agree with some of the naysayers when it comes to apps, because I do do some research into apps, and for some companion apps, I do feel like they're a little bit more gimmicky than adds value or adds to the experience. So I strongly feel that an app, when you integrate something electronic or something outside of what comes in the box in a board game, it really needs to add some kind of value, and not just like a little bit, like bookkeeping and things like that. That's always like a helpful thing, and that might be worthwhile, but something to really enhance the experience. So is what I'm really looking for, and that's one of the things that I really strive to be able to do with the apps that Nazca Games creates.
Awesome.
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 Is there anything more you can tell us about the Dead of Winter app that you're working on?
Yeah, it is currently in beta. It's just a companion app, so it replaces the Crossroads deck. And one of the neat features of it, and this is where the value add is, instead of just an app that replaces a deck of cards and just shuffles it for you, instead, when you look at, oh, actually, you know what? Let me see if I can. Hold on, I can do one better. So I can actually, I don't know if the glare is going to be too much, but I'll just give a quick example here. And that it's showing the card, but you'll notice it's too much glare. But at the top, it only shows the trigger effect of the crossroad card. So it actually staggers the information. So when you first look at the crossroad card, it's only going to give you just a trigger. So you don't. So as the reader, you don't know what's going to happen. So
I like that.
Once the trigger, once that section has been triggered, then you see the rest of the narrative text, and then we've added one additional thing. So it's actually changed the text of the crossroad cards a little bit, because now the options, they're thematic options. They don't actually tell you what happens in the game, but it tells you thematically what's happened. So one good example is, like, there's a card called Little Survivors, where your survivor finds children
In the school.
No, this one's actually out in the wild. The one in the school is one with Bev Russell in there, but
Okay, yeah, because she's a teacher.
But-
Okay.
but this one, you find like 3 little survivors that seem to be surviving on their own, and then on the card it'll tell you what happens when you choose one of the 2 options. But in the app, it'll give you the choices. Do you just leave the kids behind, or do you bring them back to the colony? Now, based on that, okay, you can probably have a sense of what's going to happen, but you don't know exactly what's going to happen until you make those decisions. So that's one of the things that we've added, is that we've staggered that information. So now when you give the target of the crossroad card the options, you don't tell them exactly. They won't even be able to see what's going to happen until they've chosen the option.
I love that idea.
That's
I
awesome.
love
Yes.
that idea.
It gives it a little bit of a choose your own adventure feel, because it's like,
Yeah.
are
Yes.
they like children that actually need our help, or are they just a bunch of zombie babies that are going to ravage our civilization?
They
Well,
have some
it
like Lord of the
also-
Flies situation going on.
It also makes it a surprise for everybody, because I know the multiple times I've played Dead of Winter, like whenever I get a chance to read the crossroad cards, I know people look at my face and I look at other people's faces like, is it bad? Is it bad? Hold on,
Right, right.
do we need to trigger this? And now no one's gonna know. It's just, oh, we're all in it together, and so I
Yeah.
love that. But I do have a question about that app.
Sure.
Is there a filter system with the app? I know Colby, when he started to create the crossword cards, at the very bottom corner, he's got the different symbols. You know,
Right.
one that lets you know where some cards are maybe more adult themed and where
Correct,
some
yeah.
are more generic. Is that also going to be applied on the Crossroads app?
Yes, actually, this is a new thing that we just added. So I
Okay,
actually
great.
need to deploy this out. But I know you can't see this, but there's actually a include mature cards option and include non-co-op cards, because those are the 2 icons on the bottom corners.
Yep.
So by hitting those, you can filter those cards out. So if you don't
Awesome.
want any, if you're playing with like younger folks,
Yeah.
you know, let's say like a 13-year-old, you don't want them to see the lover squirrel, right?
Yeah.
So so you can actually filter those cards out. One of the
awesome.
biggest values that I think that the app adds is that it's now voice acted. So all the crossroad cards, the narrative text, it'll actually be read to you.
That's awesome.
So we got a special voice actor to do it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do we
You've
know
met
the voice actor? I've met
Yes. You've met him.
him.
Taking pictures with them?
You've
Right?
taking pictures with him.
Okay. Well, that is so awesome. Can you ask one more thing on the app? Is it going to be a charge, or is it going to be free to the public? You know, is it going to be like a free, like XCOM is for Fantasy Flight? Is it going to be like that, or what are we looking at?
Oh, actually, we are probably going to be charging in the neighborhood of around 99 cents
That's awesome.
for it.
That's steep. Oh no, that's amazing.
Well, we have to pay the voice actor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it'd be pretty awesome too, because it seems like it would probably be. I mean, the voice actor probably makes it a little bit harder, but like you guys could add in like if you wanted to, if it was like a huge success, like you could add in like expansions into just the Crossroads part. Like, hey, buy this expansion, and now there's all these new Crossroad cards, so it's stuff you've never seen before. That could just be completely added in.
Yeah. Absolutely. Make distribution so much easier and quicker.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things we're planning on doing is to release packs of Crossroad cards. If the app has traction, we can release like updates, which will include more cards and probably some community-generated ones as well. So
That's awesome.
yeah, so that's the current plan.
That sounds amazing. Okay, so my next question.
Just remember to give me your emails afterwards so I can actually send it to you.
Oh yes,
Absolutely.
we'll definitely do that.
I'm going to do that right now.
So the next question is, what is your personal favorite tabletop game?
Oh, okay. Gosh, every time I've been asked this, it's something I always have to think about. But if it's a tabletop game, I'm going to have to go with Dungeons and Dragons.
Awesome.
That's the game that sort of like changed my life when it comes to tabletop games. Like I remember getting so incredibly hooked on it, back in the 80s, and just kind of growing up with it. And I've spent countless hours just painting miniature figures and drawing maps and things like that. It's probably the game that I've spent or wasted most of my life on. So
Yeah.
I have to say Dungeons and Dragons, even though I don't play much of it now anymore.
I know. I really wish that I could, but like the thing is, like once you like get like a wife and a family and all that stuff, it's really hard to have like the exact same people come over like every single week to play the exact same game.
Right.
Me and my friends always have a joke that like if you miss one session of Dungeons and Dragons, that's fine. But if you miss two sessions of Dungeons and Dragons, the whole campaign is just ruined because everybody's forgotten everything, and you have to start all new characters half the time. So, I've had tons of fun games. I grew up with my dad playing a ton of Gamma World, which is a post-apocalyptic version of Dungeons and Dragons that came out a little bit after it. But as I grew up, I played a whole bunch of Dungeons and Dragons too. So, and Matt's played a bunch, and Rob actually. Yeah. When did you?
I just started. This is my very first ever walkthrough ever, and I think we're on our fourth playthrough together. And I mean, you've met me, Emerson. I'm a big guy, so I wanted to pick the smallest person I could. So I am a little hill dwarf named Gomad, and I'm a warrior. And I can't kill any wolves, and it's really disappointing because one thing I have to learn about Dungeons and Dragons is you kind of have to stay in tune with your character's backstory. And my guy is neutral good. Well, I got mad at this one town guard, so I just killed him, and I wasn't allowed to do that. But I killed him, and I had to chop him up and hide his body before more guards would come find us. And
are you like a fighter or?
I'm a warrior.
Okay.
But I'm also like this little religious guy because I have a cousin who is a priest with this one thing, and so my background is I'm very
sure if your
tolerant and
cousin's
forgiving
gonna
of
cast
people.
you out and stuff like that.
Well, it just says that my guy's very tolerant and forgiving of people, and he's slow and slow-tempered. And
Except for that one guy.
This one guard, he wouldn't answer my question, and he's like, no. So I pulled out my Warhammer axe and I rolled a 20 and literally just cut him in half. And then I was like, crap, I have to hide the body because the guards are coming.
That's one of the things that I love about like role-playing games that's like different from any other games is that like I've played with people and I'll be like DMing and they'll be like, okay, well, what can I do? And I'm like, you can basically do anything. Like, you want to climb that wall over there? Yeah. Make a roll. You can climb the wall. Want to like rip that torch off the wall and throw it over there? Just make a roll and you can do it. So it's like, it's awesome how open it is, but I also think it's a reason like we love like storytelling games so much is just from our role-playing background. Right. Like, it's awesome to like make these stories, and it's awesome when you have board games that can make these epic stories. So like that's what we're all about here.
I just emailed you. Says Epic Gaming Night Podcast. I'm a little excited. I'm so sorry.
Awesome. Yeah, I don't get to play Dungeons and Dragons much these days, and I guess like I'm preferring board games a lot more. Mm-hmm. I think I do like the structure, but like you said, like we like the storytelling aspect of it. In Dungeons and role-playing games, it's really the storytelling comes from the players, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy that in board games, like Dead of Winter is a great example, where the narrative, like the story, comes from the mechanisms of the game, like things that happen in the game is telling you the story. So and I'm starting to appreciate that a lot more now. So,
if you ever have a deep desire to kind of not necessarily get back into playing like RPGs and like Dungeons and Dragons and stuff, my campaign's on hiatus, so I've been trying to like scratch that itch with like a lot of stuff. And Geek and Sundry, they have a thing called Critical Role, where they have 8 voice actors that get together and play D&D for like 3 hours on Thursdays. It's amazing. And like, so I'll just leave it on in the background while doing other stuff. Just a random plug. It's really good.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
So it's something you can just turn
I
on
thought you
and
were
listen
about
to these
to
people.
invite him
like,
to your group.
yeah,
Hey, Emerson, just in case,
I've been getting that itch
we need
as well.
a paladin right now.
Yeah,
I don't-
but
that's
it's
your
like-
specialty.
I like it because I don't necessarily have to play and be involved. I can just turn it on, listen to it, and then just do other stuff and still be relatively productive while enjoying complex narratives.
Yeah, I've definitely watched a lot of the like Penny Arcade play D&D things, and I know Board with Life does D&D games too on their podcast. So it's
Yeah.
pretty awesome. Like a bunch of people are doing these like almost, I mean, a lot of people do video, but sometimes you can just listen to the audio in like a podcast format and just listen to other people play D&D if you want to
Right.
check out what D&D is all about.
Right.
We live in a great time.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, is there anything exciting or awesome at Nazca that you haven't already talked about, or that you would like to reiterate, that you'd like to promote that's coming up?
Oh wow! I think I talked most about the stuff that we're gonna have coming out. Some through Plaid Hat. I do have one design that is potentially going to be published by Arcane Wonders
Oh, nice.
as well.
Ooh, there.
Yeah. So I have one, possibly 2 coming up with Arcane Wonders. One is a little micro game. Although once I'm done with it, it might not be so micro anymore. And then another one, which is currently sort of like a city building style game that I'm working on as well. So hopefully you'll see those coming out sometime next year. Hopefully Gen Con of next year.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Hooray.
So will you guys invite me back to your this podcast?
Oh my goodness!
Absolutely.
Absolutely,
Next
you
year?
are back on the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, awesome.
But
awesome.
Roy's about to try to wrap us up because he's professional. I'm not. But one more question.
Sure.
If there was one license that you could develop,
Metal Gear Solid.
that would be it. With boom.
And Matrix.
In the Matrix, okay.
And the Matrix. So, but Metal
I
Gear
think
Solid for
Matrix would be
sure.
kind of easy to get though right now, or easier than Metal Gear Solid because it's not as relevant right now. I mean, Metal Gear Solid is still really a big deal.
Oh yeah, especially
Yeah.
today.
Yeah,
Especially
yeah. Today being they just dropped September 1st. Yeah, they just released the 5th
Yeah.
installment. Or yeah,
Yeah, but there's so many licenses. I can go on and on about licenses.
was that part of your inspiration for Spectre Ops? That whole or Cypher Ops, a whole hidden role. Was that a little bit from Metal Gear Solid?
Yeah, it was Metal Gear Solid and Splinter Cell is the direction it went, but the initial spark was actually watching an episode of Cops.
Nice.
Believe it or not. I was watching 2 police.
I did not see that coming at all. That was completely out of left field. Like,
I mean-
that was awesome.
Once I explain it, it'll make perfect sense because it was 2 police officers that hopped out of a car, and this poor cameraman was chasing after them as the police officers were chasing a suspect through like a residential area. And this guy was fairly limber. He was kind of tall, but he was vaulting over fences. And I guess this was a very rural, more of a rural area where I guess people didn't lock their doors, so he was like running through one person's back door to go through the front to then go through someone else's door. And I mean, he was dodging the police officer, and at some point it looked like they lost him. And so one guy's like, "Oh, let me go back to the car." They're like, "No, wait, I heard something in this direction." So that's where the car and the motion sensor was introduced into the game because it was there from the beginning.
Yeah.
Is that
That's awesome.
the vehicle was always there because, and the initial theme was that the hunters were policemen and the car was the police car.
That's awesome. So, like,
really
when you
cool.
win in the game and you press the button, like, for the actual hunters winning, the Bad Boys theme songs needs to start playing.
Yeah, exactly.
Bad
Exactly.
Boys, Bad Boys.
That would be amazing.
Exactly.
That would be amazing. I mean, that
No one
makes
would get it
sense now
except for
once you
us.
said it. I just did not expect to hear cops. I don't know.
Yeah,
That's
I
awesome.
know. Yeah, usually the spark of the inspiration is, what it starts off initially, rarely ever becomes what its final incarnation is.
Yeah.
So this is like an example of that.
That's so cool, though. I love it. I love creativity in any of its forms. You know.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing what you do.
Well, thank you guys for supporting me. I mean, I wouldn't be able to do this without people, that are enthusiastic, that are passionate about it, and support the designers by asking them to sign their copy of Spectre Ops.
Rob
know
is
if you-
holding up his signed copy of Spectre Ops into the camera
it's-
for all the audio folks.
It's right
Oh, that's
there.
right. There's an audio portion. I'm sorry.
That's right. It's right there. Everybody else signed it as well, but
So I have to apologize to all the audio listeners as I'm doing all the hand gestures they weren't able to see.
I think we were pretty good. I think they got the gist.
Okay.
Yeah.
they just need to go to cons or different events to meet people.
And if you
Because
want
I
to
will
see
say, we have some of the most amazing. Everybody in the board gaming industry is so nice. Like every single person Roy and I met when we were at Gen Con together this last time, they were so cool. Everyone, it's such a great hobby to be a part of.
Yeah.
Really, really is.
Yeah. Love this
Sorry I
hobby.
interrupted you, Roy.
But yeah, if anybody wants to actually see the video version of them, we archive all of them on YouTube. So if you go to youtube.com/c/Epic Gaming Night, you can check out the video of this whole thing. And also make sure to check out our streams, which we stream this every Tuesday night at 9 Eastern Time on twitch.tv/Epic Gaming Night. But I guess this is pretty much a podcast, so...
Yeah.
Now, don't go away just yet, Emerson. We have our after show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for having me. This is great.
Well, thank you for coming.
And hey, where can they find you, Emerson? On Twitter or Instagram or what?
Sure. On Twitter, I'm at Nazca Games.
Nice. Do you have a
Any
website or
Facebook
anything?
or yeah?
Oh, Facebook is Facebook/Nazca Games. You can find, if you like to email me, it's nazcagames@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Awesome. But yeah, so thanks so much for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you guys for having me. This has been great.
And we'll definitely have to have you back on sometime and talk about the new stuff that's coming up once some more stuff comes out.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh,